Today I have the pleasure to meet with Marilyn Jenkins, and she's not only an accomplished author, podcaster, she has a company that does a ton of marketing, digital media group, MJ Media Group, I believe. And she also has the Law Marketing Zone, which specializes in marketing for lawyers, I believe. So how are you doing, Marilyn?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I super appreciate it. So the first thing I have to ask you about is your Chief Morale Officer, Zoe. Tell me about Zoe.
Zoe's a gorgeous little Pomeranian that lives with a permanent puppy cut because looks like a teddy bear because she had an issue with I rescued her, and so she had a nutritional issue. Around 6 months, Pomeranians have a bad hairstyle, right? They get their two coats coming in together. It's like we call it their bad hair day. Her nutrition messed that up, so she doesn't have the long silky coat, so it just goes woof. So we keep it. She's super happy, bouncy. She's just a lovely dog.
She's super cute. Okay, and so my next question, which is completely off topic too, is like, I'm living in envy of you because you have managed to not only successfully build a company and publish a bunch of books and do podcasts and other stuff, but you also do it in another part of the world.
True, that's true.
And
I have a thing as an adult. I run from winter, so I spent my adult life not living in winter. So yes, I'm in Southern Europe right now.
Oh, that's just kind of awesome. So, okay, so
Well, in this day and age, we can do that. You know, everybody's remote. My entire team is remote, and I have team members in the U.S. and other countries around the world, and we do an exceedingly good job for our clients, and we all have a great quality of life.
That's amazing. I love it. So tell me about, that's a great question. Great place to start. How do you manage remote workers? Because it's a little different. So
It is, and I find that a coach told me years ago, hire personality, train processes. So, you know, I hire A players and we train into what we do. We have everything in our business and my agency set up in processes and SOPs, so standard operating procedures. You know, a new team member comes in and can literally get ramped up within a week. But it's, you know, I have a few little tricks whenever I post a job opening that if you don't follow the instructions, I don't even look at it. And I find that that's, you know, when you've got somebody, especially if the position needs to be detail oriented, you know, one of the first things I did a long time ago is here's a form to fill out. And what you need to do is when it says, how old are you? Only write 42. Out of like 120 replies, only 3 put 42 in that spot.
Really?
Yeah. So it just shows they're not reading. They're not paying attention. So if I need someone attention to detail to help my client succeed, you can't do that if you can't even read the instructions.
That is brilliant. I've seen and I've done things to screen people out because when you're trying to attract with interviewing or let's say with advertising for a potential position and then going through a screening process, you're trying to attract the right people and get rid of the wrong people, right?
Exactly. And you want them to filter themselves out. You don't want to waste your time filtering anyone out. And I found that those types of things work, especially if you post a job and everybody just sends you a drive link to their portfolio or their what do you call it, resume. I'm not looking at those. If your reply doesn't have the subject line I told you with what I said, my email literally filters it to the trash. I will never see that.
That is brilliant. I love it. And detail orientation, obviously, for some of the things that you're doing is uber important.
Exactly.
So what else do you look for when you hire somebody?
Like I said, I think attitude. You know, I want someone who is quietly confident because when you come in, you're also thinking about your leadership team. You know, I'm not an island, but I'm, you know, in charge. But I need to be able to delegate and give authority and responsibility. And if the person can't take the responsibility and take accountability for the position, you know, you can tell really quickly when you ask a few questions if they're going to be the blame game or responsible for what you're offering. And that's, you know, the quiet confidence. I want A players to work with me, and I have an amazing team that comes to me with ideas. Some are different than mine, and I don't have all the ideas, and I like to have integrators and visionaries, and depending on the position, and I think it's, I've made some mistakes, don't get me wrong, and it's cost me a lot, but finding those bad apples, as they say, hire slow and fire fast.
Yes, I 100% agree. It's amazing how we as optimists, entrepreneurs generally have an optimistic attitude, and you think, oh, well, I can shape this person or make them better at this or that. But the bottom line is the best they're ever going to be is probably the day they interview with you.
Well,
Correct?
that's true. And the one biggest mistake I made is I did wait way too long, a few months too long to fire an individual and when I finally discovered I should have, but yeah, we want to fix people.
Yeah. And we want to help people and we want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes it's just not a fit and they need to go find a job that is a fit for them, correct?
Exactly. The thing is, it's even remote teams. So we use Slack to communicate. I
Okay.
don't see everybody's communication because as team members, they'll communicate with each other for projects or whatever. But you've got someone, if you've got a bad apple that's unhappy, they're going to spoil everybody else.
Yes.
So,
And it's all, I feel like I use this analogy a lot. I feel like it's the iceberg. Like if you see bad on the top of the water, there's 2/3 more bad underneath the water. And as soon as they leave, everybody's like, oh my gosh, thank God you got rid of that person. Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah. It's like, why didn't you tell me about this,
yeah,
while they were here? But a lot of times they don't. So,
yeah.
okay. So how do you motivate your team and how do you hold them accountable? How do you do this? Because I think this is a really good learning experience for people. It's like managing folks in a room or out of a room. You still have some of the same things you have to do. So tell me how you do that.
Well, I have individual team meetings with each person every week. We also have a team meeting, a complete team meeting once a week. And they each have access to me at the beginning of their shift. So in the beginning of someone I will do where they have to do a screen share and it takes random screenshots of what they're doing, which has saved me people when I found out they're actually working for somebody else when they're supposed to be working for me. But for the first 90 days we work together, you have to do that type of time stamping. But then, we start our day together and just accountability. What are you doing today? Because I may have something come up for a client that I need to take priority in what you're doing, or what you're doing may have been more priority, and what I need needs to be done by end of day, not right now. So that's the communication is what's really worked out, and everybody's excited that we all know at the beginning of every day, beginning of every month, the client results is what's important. So that's what it's looked at, and I love hearing when we're having conversations about, well, so and so's account, we need blah blah blah, or I've got this scheduled out, so I want to do another 2 weeks before I do, and so it's to hear them, they've taken ownership of what they're doing and taking pride of ownership, which that says a lot.
That's beautiful. Yeah. If you love what you do and you own it and you can create something and you can see somebody do better, man, you want to get paid at your job, but boy, that sure makes it so much more rewarding.
Yeah, and I think the recognition, people want to be recognized for doing a good job, and especially in front of their peers. So we start our weekly team meetings with wins at work and in your personal life. And
Good.
so, and then I bring in, the kudos of like, you did this above and beyond, right? And so everybody gets to see it and everybody celebrates with them. And I find that, job satisfaction doesn't have to do all with your dollars. It has a lot to do with recognition. And I don't really, a coach told me one time you should find the love language of your employees. Well,
Okay.
I don't. I mean, I want to recognize them. I want to make sure that they know they're appreciated. I want to pay a fair or a little bit higher wage, so they are committed. But by recognizing them is one huge way of really seeing, the pride of work come through.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay. So let's go back in time now. How long have you when did you start your business?
I've been doing digital marketing since the late 90s, but I did it as a freelance on my own, right? And so I didn't bring a team in or start a team until 2018.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I worked in automating a lot of things, so I didn't need a team member until I had all of my processes down, then bringing someone in that I could put in a position. And that's worked out really, really well.
So that's brilliant. I love that you got your processes down so you knew you could replicate them. But that first step of bringing on a first or second person for somebody building a business is a really big, scary step. And a lot of people maybe don't get it right and they don't know when to pull the trigger. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I think what made the decision to me that it was ready to do is whenever I'm realizing that I'm working every morning, every afternoon, every evening, and on the weekends. And you're like, okay, I have no children, I have no spouse, so I do have the time, but do I want to keep doing that? No. And and I have this thing I do at least once a month. I used to do it weekly. It's called Questions to Clarity. And on Fridays, you sit down, you ask yourself 5 questions about what did I do this week that I didn't need to be doing, right? We're talking about an hourly value, right? How much is your time valued at, and how much is this task valued at? So when you look at what you're doing, what you should be doing, and what you can give to your team member, that reevaluates everything that you're doing. And luckily, I have an executive assistant that is constantly, what else did you do this week that I should be doing?
That's great.
And she's just taking and coming in with ideas. I saw on your calendar that you did that, and and I love it. I'm like, yeah, okay, you can have that.
That is the best.
So
yeah, that executive assistant that can be proactive and reach out and grab stuff from you is fabulous. And it's amazing. Like I agree with you. So it's the stuff that is cheap to sub out is you want to get rid of, and the stuff that drains all your energy is the other stuff you want to get rid of, right? Those things.
Yeah. Those things that you don't enjoy doing, someone in this world does.
Yes, thank God.
Right? Yeah, one of the best things I ever even thought about how good it would feel is I gave her my corporate email. So I don't even go into my corporate email until she says, you've got something that I need you to do. So we did in the book, Buy Back Your Time, the first thing they talk about is making these folders in your email. And so she categorizes them or she just handles them. And, we've got a folder to respond. If she needs me to do it, she puts it in there, marks it unread, and she tells me in Slack, when you have time, go there and do that.
That's brilliant. And the amount of time savings, and email is a great example of something that can suck your time because you can be in a project, email comes in, you stop the project, you answer the email, and all of a sudden you've wasted a whole day and accomplished virtually nothing. So that's a brilliant one. I love that.
Yeah, and turn off notifications, right? No one ever needs email notifications if you're trying to get something done. Deep work means no interruptions. And some days when I'm doing several podcasts, I'm guesting and recording and pre-interviews. There's so many interruptions. I know I'm never going to get anything done, right? Because when you get interrupted from deep work, it takes 15 to 30 minutes to get back to that level of concentration. And that's not me, that's people in general.
Yes.
Right? I'm no exception to that, but I'm just saying people in general, think about it. If you're sitting here working on your book or writing or whatever, and you get interrupted by a notification, you go, look, how long does it take you to get back into that spot? Right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's brilliant. 15 to 30 minutes, huh? I believe it. I hadn't heard the stat before, but I totally believe it. It makes perfect sense.
Especially if you're in a zone, you got your little lo-fi music playing, you got the space going, and all of a sudden you get interrupted with something. Now you got to get back to that where you're in your creative moment. And sometimes that's not that easy to do.
That's brilliant. Okay, so how do you built this successful business? You obviously are getting results for your clients. What's your secret to success?
I think always keeping the client's interest first. I don't want a client I want happy clients, I guess is the way to say it. I want happy clients that understand it's a process. You're not going to be ROI positive on day 1, but you probably will be by day 30. Our most recent client was struggling. They were with another agency that was not producing for them. and they were really concerned about paying my fee. And this particular person had worked for an old client that I worked with 2 years ago. So went out on their own, has a new agent, a new law firm. I bring them in. She's lost a lot of money from this other agency that's not ROI positive at all. So she's worried. She's like, okay, I'm worried about taking 6 months with you, but okay, let's do it. Because I know how well you worked before. Month one, $89,000 in cases.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
23 cases contracted, collected 10% deposits across the board. She's very happy. And her entire team is quite busy, and she's looking at hiring. So
that is brilliant. Yeah, talk about changing somebody's lives. Isn't it gratifying when you can take somebody like that and completely change not only their business, but it's life-changing stuff you're doing.
exactly. I mean, and that's one of the questions I like to ask when we get started. Why is this your goal? Where are you now? Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
What's standing in your way, and why do you want to be there? And a lot of the times it's like, I want to be home for dinner with my kids. I want to spend Saturday and Sunday at the soccer field or whatever. And, it's having quality of life. And, to see the lack of stress on her face whenever we chatted, and got a wonderful testimonial, by the way. But, it was just like, there was no stress there anymore after just month one. And she was also dedicated to actually following up on the leads, not letting them fall through the cracks. And speed to lead, as you know, is super important whenever you're building a business.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's funny. People do business and they have this idea of what business is going to be when they get into it. It's fun and freedom and time and money. And then they get in this grind and they're chained to this thing and they don't know how to scale it up to the next level. And when you can actually change somebody and make that happen for them, and they can see the goal that they set out to see, and they can actually maybe realize it and see how to realize it. It's so gratifying, and that's got to be. Yeah, you want to make money at your business, but that's the fun stuff, right?
Well, yeah, especially when you see that, okay, they've always had a vision of bringing on a couple of associates, which they'll let them work on the business, and now they can see budget-wise, they can see that in X months. So, yeah, absolutely. And then sometimes it's as simple as bringing on a paralegal to do some of the paperwork and get it off your desk. So, any type of growth that allows the attorney or the founding attorney to actually work on the business more is absolutely what you want. If that's what they want. If they just want a lifestyle agent or firm, that's completely different. If they want to grow,
then I'm your person, right?
That's it. Exactly.
So everybody, I get at least 5 to 10 LinkedIns a day from digital marketing experts. And
I get them as well.
I get
them as well.
That's hilarious. They're marketing to you.
I'm like, did you read my byline? No. Okay.
Yeah, do you know that I'm pretty good at this, actually? People pay me to do this stuff. So how do you tell, what's a great way for folks out there to just like discern, how do you tell a good one from a bad one, or not bad? Maybe bad's the wrong word, but no, there are some bad ones out there.
Well, there are actually bad. Well, I mean, there's the cost of, or the bar of entering a digital marketing agency or becoming a digital marketing agency is very low, right? I mean, almost on the ground, it's so easy. And I've seen in some of the agency Facebook groups, people go, hey, I just sold a package for $3,000. Can someone tell me what to do? Yes, please give that company their money back.
Yes, please.
Okay. But no, what I would do is I would look at their LinkedIn profile and see how long they've been in business.
Okay.
That's a good one. Check their other social medias. You can look on my website. My Law Marketing Zone obviously is the biggest website with all of the different services, but all the social media, I'm not new to this, and I'm not living in my grandmother's basement doing it. I am an adult, but I mean, that's the big thing. And it's like, it doesn't matter where the agency is, where the people are working from. Yes, I'm American. I live in Europe. It's just a choice. I've always wanted to live in Europe, but I'm also very good about what I do, and I'm good with my clients. Yeah,
that's amazing. You specialize in law? I don't know if you just do law, but I know you specialize in law. Can you tell me?
I do. I work with local businesses. So I do have some legacy clients that are roofers and construction, and we do quite well for them. Upwards like of 8 to 10x ROI for them, just because the jobs are very large. So we do that. We do a lot of Facebook ads or meta ads, which is Instagram as well, and SEO type stuff, and some social media posting, so to help with the branding. But mostly local services, which would be your local law firm. I want my clients to be the go-to service in their niche, in their town. And that's the one thing about doing the Google Business Profile. I do a lot of talking and teaching on that. And some of my webinars in that aspect is to help you maximize that to be at the top of the searches in your local area.
Sure. It's work, but that's the free stuff, right?
Yeah. And the more you do, we do a lot of when we manage that for our clients, we write articles every week. So we're adding content, and that's keyword rich articles that, apply to that client. So the more you give to your Google Business Profile, the more you're telling Google the searches you are relevant for. And so that's what we help our clients with.
That's awesome. That's great. So where do you want your business to be when you grow up?
I would like to. Now I've worked with, I think 150, 180 clients. I would like to have a team that we're doing with closer to 50 or 60 clients at a time. We have a team that we could handle that easily, and then with our SOPs, just bring on other people.
Yes.
And I just like to, my goal is to help 500 businesses triple their revenue in the next 3 years. So by working with more and more, that's, I want to see this grow. It's, the business is out there. We can do it. We can help you grow.
500 businesses triple their revenue in the next 3 years. I love that.
Yes.
Brilliant. Yeah. So what's the biggest thing that would keep you from getting there?
Lack of lead flow. It's been this year, and up until, let's just be brutal, up until a couple of months ago, I thought it was just me. This has been a lot of not as much growth as I'm used to each year, and a bit of plateau. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm talking to other people in the industry and other industries, and everybody's had the same thing. It's
Sure.
like most people that are, on a big trajectory, not hockey stick all the way, there's always that, but it's still a trend up. 2024 for a lot of businesses has been very much a plateau and slight growth, and then some retraction. So it's been an interesting year. So I see some changing happen. People are feeling positive after the election and moving towards 2025. And I believe that had to do with the stock market, going up right after that. And election year is always weird,
Yes.
And now we're in Q4, December, and people are like, okay, I'm kind of hedging my bet. Wait, do we want to make a move now or wait until January? So.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny that as adults, it's amazing how many people really got worried about the election. Look, folks, no matter who wins, we got to put our pants on tomorrow and go back to work, right? It does.
That's right.
Yeah.
Business will continue. Exactly.
Business will continue. That I guess the unknown and the uncertainty for people is a freak out moment. So I'm glad we're past that.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, what was their biggest kind of aha or challenge that you faced, and how'd you overcome it as you're building your business?
I think it was kind of getting more of the word out of what we do.
Okay.
And not being lost in the noise of ads. So yes, I've done meta ads and PPC ads for myself. You do for yourself what you do for your clients. Sure. But the one thing I started doing was monthly webinars and events on LinkedIn. Instead of trying to advertise what I do, I wanted to educate what we do, right? So I will walk through, whether it's 30, 45 minutes, teaching people the Google Business Profile. And then, of course, make an offer at the end, for just a discovery call. I'm not going to do one of these, 20-minute, at the end of a webinar, you got 20 minutes of offers, right? No. If you want to book some time to talk further, here's my calendar link. But I think it was doing more of the educational webinars, and then, of course, podcast guesting and talking about these things. So that just tell people, Google My Business is not the same as Google Business Profile. It's just there's so much power to it, and SEO still works, and it's even more effective with the Google Business Profile.
That's brilliant. Okay. Obviously, I see you wrote a book about it. So
Yes.
tell me about that. What's in it? Where do I get it? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon, and
Okay.
it's on paperback and Kindle, and it takes you through step-by-step claiming, verifying, and maximizing your Google Business Profile to be found in the local searches. Because now there's when you're a consumer and you're out, and say you wanted to, I don't know, order a pizza. You wanted to go have a pizza, so you pull out your phone, you type pizza restaurant near me.
Sure.
First thing you see, 60 to 80% of people go to that pretty map pack, right? Google My Business didn't have the map pack, not the little pretty map. The map was separate on the page. Now you go below the ads and everybody goes to the colorful map. Those 3 listings are called the map pack. And the people who get the most business are on those first 3. Because, as they say, where's the best place to hide a dead body? Page 2 of Google.
That's great. Nobody ever goes to page 2.
No.
That's fun. That's fun. And you wrote a couple other books too, a couple other marketing books. What are those about?
Well, one's profit-driven digital marketing, and it encompasses everything from your Google Business Profile, paid ads, social media, posting, that sort of thing. So that's an all-encompassing book. And the most recent book that published literally on Monday is the 2025 Local Visibility. So it goes more in depth beyond just your Google Business Profile about what you can do on your website, what you can do on your social medias that make you visible locally and make you the number one, or a category of one, as we like to say, in your local business for what you do.
That's great. Sounds like great advice. Yeah. So it's like, if you have questions, pick up the book, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously you can always reach out, book some time on my calendar, we can chat. I'd like to find out what your business goals are and how I can help you reach those.
How do you make yourself, now you talked about doing LinkedIn stuff and advertising as well, but how else do you make yourself stand out from those other folks? What else do you do?
I think the podcast has been helpful.
Right.
We get out and podcast is called Leadership in Law. And so I interview attorneys about how they started, where they are, where they began, and how they got there, what their philosophy was. A few people niche down right out of law school. Some people do the partner, track and then go out on their own. And then I also talk to service providers. So it's interesting to have both sides, but still focused on the legal industry. And that's been very helpful. It just gets the networking of having your podcast is just incredible. And I've got to meet some great people, learned a lot of things. So I think that's been very helpful.
Isn't it true? I've been doing this in 6 months or something. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can really learn. And there's commonalities in some of the wisdom, obviously, which is great. But there's also I get aha moments all the time, things that I just never thought about, and different ways that people look at business and growing their business. So it's been a fabulous learning experience for me as well.
Exactly.
So tell me, if you had one piece of advice for somebody starting out that wanted to start out and start their business, what would that be?
Believe in yourself.
Okay.
Keep educating yourself and stay on the leadership track, because unless you want to be a freelancer the rest of your life, you want team members that's going to help you, right? So no, just believe in yourself, get out there, do it, and plan to grow enough to bring someone else to help you along. And that way you can make it a lifestyle business or even more.
I love that. Yeah, because nobody wants to sit. I assume maybe some people just want to have a lifestyle business and do stuff and freelance, but to grow a business that can, because the business is supposed to be something that funds your life, not
Exactly.
working for the business, correct?
Exactly. You want to be able to invest and retire. I mean, that's ideally, and if that means an exit strategy, then build something you can sell. And but believe in yourself and get started.
Yeah, and just do it.
Just do it. Nike, just do it.
I like it. It's so good. It's so good. So if I want to engage with your business, what's the best thing to do? Just book time with you?
Yeah, if you go to lawmarketingzone.com/book a call, it's a 15-minute phone call. We'll chat, see if it makes sense to book a Zoom and talk a little bit further.
That's fabulous. Okay. Any other words of advice for somebody out there? And I want to go back to one more time to digital marketing. I love what you said about the Google Business Profile. Anything else? Because this is such a changing, moving, morphing animal, and the algorithms change and all that change. So I was going to focus on one thing. Plus, after Google Business Profile, what would that be? What's the next thing I do?
Local visibility.
Okay.
So if you're in the chamber, make sure your website's linked on the chamber site. If you're in Rotary, if you're sponsoring a little T-ball team, if whatever you're doing. And then I know some attorneys that are doing local podcasts in their city to
Okay.
introduce businesses to each other. So be visible locally.
That's brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much. This was really, really good. And congratulations, Marilyn, on not only building a great business, but helping so many great people and changing people's lives. That's incredible.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Have a great day, Marilyn. Thank you.
You too.